focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and I am your host, always bringing you some of the greatest minds in the world. We're talking health, wealth, we're talking business, strategies, marketing, you name it. And today, I'm actually really excited. Neil MacLean is a marketing expert. And we're going to be talking a lot about how to create your social, how to create just a more solid business where you can create massive passive residual income and grow like you want to grow. So look, before I get started, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you share. Neil, is it Scotland? Like, where's the accent from, man? So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
So Scotland's where I'm from. That's where the accent's from. Live in New York for the most part. I'm literally minutes away from green card official approval, which is why I'm in a hotel room stuck here in London at the moment. So yeah, Scotland, London, New York, somewhere in the mix there is my home at the minute.
So now, were you born in Scotland then? What part and like where at? And do your parents still live there?
Yeah, so they're still there, right up in the Highlands of Scotland. More sheep than people, more landscape than cities, and all that. Basically, where I come from, we are an hour and a half drive from the closest supermarket and hospital. So that sort of puts into context how farmlandy the area was.
And so growing up, what was it like growing up in, sheep land?
Well, the crazy thing is, insanely boring, but when you go back now as an adult, you think it's the most beautiful place in the world. You don't appreciate all that stuff back in the day when you're a young kid. You pretty much played football or soccer outside at all times of all days, and that was pretty much life up there. However, go back now and you just can't get enough because you live in cities and you go back and it's beautiful scenery and wildlife and all that good stuff. So yeah.
So did you get in a lot of trouble? Because I would imagine kids over there, if they're bored, then they're getting in trouble. Like, what kind of kid were you?
I never got into any trouble, which is, as you were just saying, the green card application had to get a police report. So thank goodness I didn't get up to any trouble when I was a wee guy. But yeah, there's a decent amount of trouble up there that a select few manage to get themselves into. But to be honest, the most trouble anybody sort of gets themselves into there is when you're about 16, you start going to the pub on a Friday and Saturday night, and then that sort of becomes your routine, I guess. But I've sort of grown out of that and moved into the world of business, which doesn't pan too well when you've had a few drinks the night before.
I believe it, man. And what did your parents do? I mean, did you grow up kind of rich or middle class or poor, or how did you grow up?
Well, I would just say pretty poor, to be honest, especially at the start anyway. I mean, until the age of 5, my mum and dad, well, we all lived obviously together, but in the equivalent of like council or state housing. So it certainly wasn't wealthy. And then they saved up so that they could get a mortgage. So they still live in that house that we moved into when I was 5 years old. I believe they paid it off last year. Finally getting to that mark, and yeah, we've never had a lot of money, but we were always happy. I don't know, like now it's funny, I say to my wife all the time, like it's crazy to me when I look at like how the business is doing and what we've built now and everything, and the money just doesn't mean anything to me because I felt rich the first time I had like $1,000 a month because I just wasn't used to it. So, I've never managed to get out of that mindset at all. Like I felt rich when most people would have said I was poor, just because of what I grew up with.
And that mindset of like just kind of being grateful for what you have, is that kind of what, is that the mindset you've always had?
Yeah, and my parents are quite religious as well, so they've always gone with that sort of mindset of, being very appreciative of anything that you have, showing a lot of gratitude, and going into that mindset even when things aren't going too well, to be able to sort of draw upon the fact that so many other people out there have it so much worse, and you know. Any opportunity you have really yourself, you should be looking to help others. They do a lot of charity work up in the local community, and that sort of filtered down into myself and my sister as well.
And so, I mean, would you say your parents were your main mentors, or was there kind of like a, maybe somebody at school or a coach or teacher? I mean, or maybe somewhere outside. Do you like, aside from your parents, was there a mentor that really impacted you early on?
So there was actually, it was my granda. So like my granddad, to some people, um he was the manager of a fish factory, right? But when you're young, you don't really know the difference between a manager and an owner of a company. And so in my mind, I always thought that he owned the fish factory, and I always loved it. I always loved the fact that he owned this, and I was always really interested right from the earliest of ages. And he got me into stamp collecting when I was 4 or 5 years old. And in my second year of primary school, so I was about 6 years old, I started selling stuff in the school. And it was off the back of my granda saying to me that if you can build collections of things, they hold a lot more value. It was the whole point. It's what he drilled into me about stamp collecting. And so I started collecting Power Rangers and all sorts from cereal boxes, and then bringing them into school and selling the collection to anybody that would give me money for it. I got my hand slapped for that a few times in high school, but it actually created, a lot of entrepreneurial stories throughout even primary school. Like long before I even got to high school, I was uh, knocking on doors, cleaning cars at the weekend, because we were right by the sea. I don't know if you've ever seen Wilkes before. They're like a delicacy in Spain, and I would go there when the tide goes out and pick these whelks, these tiny wee shellfish, and then go and sell them to the fish factory at night as well. So I was always looking for ways to earn money and create my own work. And when I look back, I can't really remember my mindset when I was 5 years old, but it makes complete sense that it was looking up to my granda, thinking he's created his own work here, and also probably, being in a household where, again, we were happy, but there wasn't a lot of money there, and my gran and granda did really well. And so like better cars, bigger house, going on holidays all the time, and things like that. So there was probably an element of looking up to him in that sense as well that sort of drove me to sort of seek out how I can create my own work.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you talk about that, because I tell people all the time that, our job as leaders is to inspire other people. And even though your grandfather probably didn't realize what he was doing, he was just being a good grandfather, right? He wasn't realizing that he was actually planting these little seeds in your mind at 5 years old and 10 years old and whatever. And he was inspiring you to raise to that next level, right? That maybe you just, for whatever reason, where you were born and kind of the situation of your parents, maybe you didn't have a lot of the means. You had the happiness and the love, but you didn't have the means. But your grandfather inspired you to take your life to that next level. And that's, I would imagine that has a lot to do with why you're such a success today. And so, you sounds like you've always been trying to sell things, right? I mean, you're always been a sales person, which I love, by the way. We talk a lot about sales here, and the audience, all of us, at least 95% of us probably are in the sales entrepreneurial business arena. And so, do you feel like you kind of were that you just always were looking to sell something and build something? Is that kind of what happened to you?
Yeah, it's just always been ingrained in me. And, I don't ever know how to answer the question that comes up quite a lot, which is, are entrepreneurs born entrepreneurs? So I don't know if until the age of 5 I was an entrepreneur at heart, or if it was actually just something that happened in my life that started the momentum there. But I just found so much happiness through it, and it weirdly wasn't about the money at any point, really. I loved the gamification of it. Probably that's why I'm obsessed with like board games, quiz shows, and stuff. Like anything that's gamified, I'm interested in. And with business, it's just the ultimate game, right? I mean, you're literally playing with, your own life and people around you. How hard you work ultimately, will be a big part of getting a business off the ground. But then your creativity and what you can do within the game is what is really going to, bring out the results on the other side of it. And that's just driven me non. So I even went to university. I studied sport and exercise science because it was easy. I knew sport and exercise science because I was interested in fitness and sport, and everything was going to be the easy thing to go and do so that I could actually just have fun whilst I was there. I always knew I was going to start a business on the other end of it. I knew that there was no chance I was going to be a personal trainer or a PE teacher or anything like that. I knew I was going to be going and doing something completely different. So I was at university just to have a good time, and I ended up just starting club nights.
Okay.
And I never went to class at all. I just literally promoted club nights for 7 days, and then my club night would be on a Thursday night, and we had the most popular club night in the city, and it was great. Loved it.
And
So
you were
yeah,
making money like putting on these club nights. Is that kind of
oh
how
yeah.
so you actually put on, so you started these club nights and you were charging people to get in? Is that kind of how it worked?
Yeah, so the club nights, the way that they work, and it's a really really good model. Even when I moved away after university, I did this in the next city that I went to as well, which is club nights randomly aren't usually ran by the owners of the club. So the club nights will usually get an outside promoter to come in, and typically what the scenario is that the promoter has to do all the branding, has to do all the marketing spend, has to hire the people to do flyering. And if you did Facebook ads back then, you would be paying for the Facebook ads, but you would take everything on the door. So if you charge $10 to get in, every $10 that came in, that was yours. But they would make everything on the bar. And you would keep your position as the promoter for that night as long as you were keeping the place busy. So if you keep that place busy, you would make a lot of money on that door, and they would make a lot of money on the bar, and everybody would be happy.
Love that, man. So yeah, you're the real deal, man. I mean, you from early on. I just think it's interesting the fact that you didn't like going to school. You wanted to take the easiest classes. So that brings an interesting topic. I mean, do you think, like, well, do you have any children? Do you have any kids?
No, not
No
yet.
kids, no kids. But so when you do have kids, are you going to recommend, let's just say they're a kid just like you, okay? Would you recommend that they go to college?
I wouldn't recommend it. My thoughts on university and things are that uh, it's good for two different things. If there's a job that they're passionate about in which you need the degree, then obviously I think that it's a great route to go down. My wife's a veterinary nurse. She had to do the degree to be able to practice. So for very, very select things, becoming a lawyer, a doctor, if they're passionate about that, I won't be going, hey, this is quite a good earning and it's very safe and you should go and try and be a doctor. It's if they want to do that, I would be more than happy to, you know, push them towards university. That's the route you need to go down to achieve your goal. Go do it. The second thing that I think is good for university is the amount of fun you have, the life experiences, the people you meet, and the fact that you have to go out on your own. Like if you've been at home for, you know, your whole life, you have to go out on your own, fend for yourself, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself whilst you're at university. So I think it's good for those two things, but for 98%, 99% of the classes that are available, unnecessary. I've had tons of marketing graduates come to me and ask me if they can work underneath me and, you know, work for free and get involved in our business. I stopped even entertaining it after a good while because I was getting into conversation with people who, so, some of them actually had digital marketing. So not even just marketing in general, digital marketing degrees. They'd studied for 4 years and they'd never ran a Facebook ad before. And I was like, this is marketing today. You need to be able to do this stuff. And, you know, they're talking about like billboards and magazine ads and, you know, like referencing like really famous brands and the stuff that they do. And I'm like, yeah, they don't need call to actions in their adverts because they're a straight up brand now. Coca-Cola doesn't have to have a button that you can click on to buy a can of Coke. And so, you know, the stuff that you'll learn at university, if you're an entrepreneur at heart, if you know, love the idea of having complete freedom, go out there and just build something, make it happen for yourself.
Love that. Great stuff, man. So how did you start your business in marketing, and why did you go into that industry?
So I never started as a marketer. I started as the business owner first. So I came from running club nights and things. So what I did was I put on Scotland's biggest ever fitness event. It was called the SFN Expo. We had thousands of people come from all over Europe every year to this event that was just one weekend per year. I ran it for 5 years before selling it. And yeah, I went into that and signed my life away for something in the region of $200,000 or $300,000 in the first year. Before I'd sold a ticket or a single exhibition stand. And I got that punch in the face that a lot of people get when they start their first business. They imagine that everybody will be as excited as they are about the ideas that are in their head. And I realized very quickly that it's not as simple as that at all. But I had huge liabilities that if I didn't sort this out quickly, I was going to be declaring bankruptcy when I was about 20 years old. So I had to act pretty quick, and I realized what I needed to do was learn marketing to an advanced level as quickly as physically possible. And so if I wasn't on the phone selling, or I wasn't, you know, actively doing the marketing for the event that was coming up, I would be learning. So I was spending every other waking hour just trying to absorb as much information as possible and the next day implementing it. And we got to the first show. We had sold out all the stands. We had a few thousand people come to the first show, which was awesome. We were almost at break even, which was a really good start for the show. And it just lit this fire under me. And I realized the more, I know it's a like sort of cheesy quote, but the Warren Buffett one of the more you learn, the more you earn. And I was like, man, there's so much information out there. If I can just get hold of the best information, I'll go through it with a fine tooth comb. I'll implement everything. And we ended up growing that company really, really well and selling it 5 years later. And it just sort of spiraled that a lot of people had, just through word of mouth, found out that I had done it in the most unorthodox way. All exhibitions that you see out there in the big exhibition centers, they are doing magazine ads, they're doing radio advertising, they're doing television advertising, all these hugely expensive things that are extremely hard to track. I ran it almost solely with organic social media, email marketing, and Facebook ads. And so word of mouth got around about that. And somebody asked me, well, we've got a gym opening up. Can you do a Facebook ad campaign for us? And this is a funny story behind this one, actually. At that point, I was like, oh man, I do not want to take this on. Like, I'm totally fine testing out things with my own money. I do not want to spend somebody else's. But I had just met my now wife at that point. So I had met her about 6 months earlier. We'd got really, really close. And it was coming up for Christmas. And she had said to me, so this was like in the year 2 as well. I actually ended up overlapping, by the way, between doing marketing for companies and running this event. So this is going into year 2 of this event. And so she ended up breaking down in tears one night, right? We're like having dinner and she broke down in tears. I was like, I have no idea what I've done here. Turned out she was just really, really upset because she hadn't seen her family since the previous Christmas. And so she was just, I haven't seen my family in so long. I really miss them and everything. And I was in my head thinking, like, this is the woman for me. Like, I know I'm going to be marrying this woman. So I want to give her the best Christmas present ever. I want to take her to New York. Okay. But at that time, new business, we ended up having a slight loss after the first year. The next show isn't for another like 7 months. So ticket sales and stuff hadn't even gone out yet. So I wasn't sitting with lots of money in the bank account at all. And so I was like, right, I need to price this whole thing up. And I priced it up, and it was about £3,000 to get the flights, to get the accommodation, to get, spending money for the entire thing. It was about £3,000. So I went back to the company and I said, yep, I can do it. I'm going to need you to put up £4,000 for the Facebook ads, and then my fee for running this is going to be £3,000. And so I just quoted it at what I needed to take her back to her parents, and they accepted it, and we ended up spending their £4,000 on ads, and we brought in £298,866. And that just created this word of mouth buzz. Weirdly, I never had to run a Facebook ad for my own Facebook ads business. It just was word of mouth until it was packed out. And I did that for the next 4 years until I sold the company and then went into the coaching space.
So now why did you sell the company? Just curious. Like why not just continue to run that business? Why get rid of it?
So probably 2 big reasons. First of all, it was the most stressful thing that you could ever come across. Running large scale events, man, the pressure on you from start to finish of that year is just absolutely insane. It is something that you put a lot of money up front into to book everything for the next year. And, the majority of your ticket sales, strangely, are going to come in the sort of 72 hours coming up to the show. So you're walking into a show every single year that needs somewhere in the region of 10,000 people coming to it, with probably something in the region of 2,000 tickets sold, with 72 hours to go. And you're just praying that everything is going to work out every time. The stress of it was insane. The time commitment of it was absolutely insane. And the marketing stuff was what lit me up. It was so enjoyable, and I was getting paid better to do something that I loved more. So it just made complete sense when the opportunity came up to sell the company. As soon as I was offered it, I barely negotiated on anything. I was just like, let's make this happen.
Take it. We'll see you later, man. Hurry up and get the check before they change their mind, right? So
that was it.
Hey, so what are some of the mistakes that people right now, like, okay, I want you to kind of think about in your mind, right? A young entrepreneur, right? They own a little business. They're in the, let's just call it insurance business or financial services or something, or maybe even people that are recruiting and trying to grow an organization or whatever, right? Grow their team. Like, what's some of the things that they should be doing? What are some of the mistakes that they're making in your experience?
Well, for the most part, and I stumble upon this a lot of people end up like booking calls with us. They're just not qualified. And it comes under this exact thing of they have just decided one day, I want to be the entrepreneur that's got 7 figures coming in. So I'm just going to go for the fastest, easiest way to make it happen. And they get sucked into a lot of systems that are just sometimes unethical, to be honest. And other times they're just either very, very low level products or systems that they want to put together, such as, and I know some people do this really, really well, but so many times people get sucked into the drop shipping world, right? They've never done any marketing before. They don't have any business experience. They don't have any financial experience. They might be starting, in an overdraft, and then they start a drop shipping company, and, they can't understand why they aren't making any sales. They haven't brought the skill level up to the point in which they need to be able to actually implement even a drop shipping service. But if I was to say, well, what the solution is there, you either want to be building a product that you want to be selling for a decent amount of time here, or you want to be building yourself up as an asset. So it's either that you are going to be the asset, such as a coach, consultant, service provider, or you want to be creating something that can stand the test of time in the marketplace. Neither of these come overnight, not at all. But they're the thing that has, you and I living really nice lifestyles now. We all had to work hard to make it happen initially. We had to, put the blood, sweat, and tears into becoming skilled. We had to go through tons of challenges, failures, successes, pick out the things that work and the things that didn't. But on the other side of it, we've got not only the experience, but we've got such great stories to be able to tell, to sell the products and services. People know that we've gone through the systems before. Anything that they're going to be facing, we've been there a million times before.
So it's kind of like, people they're looking for that get rich thing. That's a huge mistake, right? People are looking for an easy way to a challenge that could be big, right?
Yeah.
And it could be, it could take time. So, as far as I think, especially in the financial business, because my business is part of financial, I think the biggest challenge is the lead generation. I can't tell you how many thousands and thousands. I have 1,500 licensed agents in my organization, but I could tell you right now, there's probably 700 of them that just they're failing, not because they're not skilled, they just have nobody to talk to. And so I think one of the biggest challenges with all small entrepreneurs, whether it be somebody opening up a little coffee shop, or somebody opening up a little writing business, or somebody doing some sort of or investments or insurances and things like that, the biggest challenge that they have is they get up in the morning and they go, what do I do? There's nobody to talk to. And especially in this day and age with COVID and all the challenges that we're having on that front, it's way more essential to make sure you have a lead generation strategy. So what does something like that look like? If somebody came to you and asked you, hey, look, what do? I have nobody to talk to. I'm trying to get this thing off the ground. What would be a solution from you?
Well, depends on what sort of business they're in, but I 100% agree with everything there. That is so unbelievably spot on. It's just like somebody having the best shop or the best product, but it's down a dark alley and nobody is ever going to pass it. So somebody could be the best person out of those 1,500. There's a chance that the most skilled person doesn't have any leads coming in. And, you hear this phrase get bandied about quite a lot these days, that business these days is 90% marketing. Now, I think it's a bit of an overkill to even say that, even from the point of view of a marketer. I think that you yourself have to be a really, really skilled person to be able to stand the test of time in your marketplace. But it is so true. And the cool thing is, and again, sure, I sell courses where I teach this stuff, but man, there's so much of the information out there for free that you can go, if you're willing to put the time and effort into it. There's so many lead gen strategies out there. Like if we named, just a few, of course, Facebook ads to a simple landing page that has a great promise at the top of it, a nice video that tells them the story of, hey, you're here right now, you want to be here, this is a solution, and this is who we've helped before. Put your name, email address, and phone number here. Simple. Get that in front of people within your target market, your demographic, location, whatever it may be, and you might just be onto a winner there. I know that's very simplified, but you might just be onto a winner there. If we wanted to go a little bit more guerrilla marketing, then we could do things like on Instagram. Let's say you do have a locational sort of business. It's, you know, people within a sort of 100-mile radius or something. Well, you can go onto Instagram and you can search locations, and you can see posts that have been done in that very specific area, either the most recent ones or the most popular ones. Go into the most recent. Go in there every single day and communicate with people who are close to you. As long as you have your bio on your Instagram page ready to go and it tells them exactly who you are, where you are, and how you help people, people are going to therefore discover your platform who are within your 100-mile radius, who are then going to be able to reach out to you. And this is a key thing with Instagram and social media in general. First impressions. It's actually not that difficult if you're willing to put in the hours to get in front of your target market. The worst thing is people coming through to your profile and not having a clue what you do, who you help, if you're right for them or anything like that. Because most people don't have 500,000 followers. They don't have comments coming in every single minute of every day. So if you go in there and comment on 250 posts per day, even with a quick comment, you're going to get, out of those 250, at least 225 people are going to check out your profile, and they're going to be within your demographical area. So there, you know, those are just a couple of things, but there's so many ways to lead gen. And hey, if you're short of ideas, go onto YouTube. There's a million different things that you could be doing. It's basically how creative are you willing to get, and how deep are you willing to get in the lead generation systems.
I mean, I think what you're saying is so right on, because I mean, there's so many, obviously there's so many ways, but I think that this is what people miss. They miss the work part, because
Yeah.
like for example, right, when you say right now, go in there and leave 250 comments a day, right? I mean, in their mind, they're thinking, well, I'm going to be sitting on my dang computer for, you know, like hours and hours. I mean, you know, to 250, I mean, you're talking hours and hours and hours. But what these entrepreneurs don't understand is that, you know, a lot of people actually go to jobs every day and they work for 8 hours, 10 hours doing an actual job somewhere.
Yeah.
So what happens, what I see is an entrepreneur, they become an entrepreneur and they're like, well, I'm free now. you know, I have no
Yeah.
job and I'm free. And I'm like, wait a minute. Doesn't mean you don't have to work to change your life, right? You still have to put in the work. And so that is like the biggest misconception. And I hate, even me, right? I mean, I you know, obviously talk about lifestyle. I talk about building a lot of passive income. I built a multi-million dollar you know, company. But I tell people all the time, this is not a get rich quick scheme. There's lots of work. You do have to be licensed. You do have to, you know, learn new skills in your life, right? This is not a fairy tale where you just show up and you get rich. You know what I mean? Like literally, like people think that you're just going to press a button, you know, click on Facebook ads and put one ad on there, and next thing you know, you're just, you know, money is raining everywhere, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
can you speak on that for a second? I mean, do you hear some of these things?
I hear this all the time. And to be honest, until probably only within the last 12 months, I have been working nonstop 7 days a week for a very, very long time. This year, I've gotten to the point where, you know, obviously income is now very, very good, a decent level of influence in the marketplace. I've got my systems in place that are very repeatable and work in the background. I've got some team members now that deal with a lot of things that I used to do. And so I sort of made the choice that, sure, I'm always going to strive to have a higher income than I did the previous month, but I'm no longer in that position now where, I'm just chasing, bigger financial goals and bigger financial goals. I'm married now, very, very happily married. And, I like the having a couple of days off per week now. Like, I love that. I love doing those things, jiu-jitsu, piano. I love doing hobbies for the first time in years. And so, I mean, if anybody had sort of broken down the amount of hours that I put in over the last sort of 12 years or something, it would be, about 40 years of work for a lot of people. So, I've put in the work to hit this. I was about to say retirement. I still work 4 or 5 days a week at least. And, it's only because I put in that hard work, and I'm very, very aware that, number one, I still deliver big for my clients. Nobody feels in my client base, nobody feels it that I've taken that slight step back. Nobody would even know it. And then second of all, I'm still striving to go forward at all times, but I'm just getting smarter with my time now that I have the influence, I have the proof of my systems. When you're coming up, it's certainly not like that at all.
I love that you're saying that, because I talk about this. I mean, I think that's why I'm so intrigued by your story, because I think a lot of it matches. I mean, I put in 7 hard, grueling, you're talking from 6 o'clock in the morning to midnight, you know what I mean? Just nonstop for 7 years, everything I had. And then I woke up and I was financially independent. And I said, I could do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, And so I love that. I love that. And I think that's a good thing. And also, one of the other points you made that is so awesome is that you have created systems that now are repeatable, duplicatable. So that I teach that a lot, right? I mean, you have to have systems in place, because who the hell wants to work a grueling, 20 hours a day forever? Like, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
That and matter of fact, if you worked, if you worked for me, or if you did stuff for, like, I wouldn't want you to work that hard. I want you to have a family. I want you to have a wife. I want you to maybe have kids. I want you to travel and do the things you want to do. As long as you're getting results, that's all that matters. And I just think that's important, because ultimately, why would anybody want to do what you're doing if that's the dream, right? If that's the dream,
Yeah,
if that's
absolutely.
if the dream is me grueling, grinding for 40 years, like, I'm sorry, I'm just not, like, I don't want that deal. You know what I mean? So I love that you said that. I think that's wonderful, what you're doing right now. And so, look, man, this is so cool. I know I only have a couple more minutes with you right now, but look, what's, I got a couple last quick questions. What's the most dangerous place you've traveled?
Oh, most dangerous place. Oh, I'm not well traveled enough to have hit any dangerous places.
Okay, all right.
I've been to like Spain, Italy, a bunch
No,
of
no.
places throughout Europe.
You know where you've been? You've been to New York. That's a pretty dangerous place. Okay, so
Okay.
I think we could use New York as the answer. So
New York then.
okay, ice cream or cake?
Oh, ice cream.
All right. What's your favorite song or band or music?
Drake. I was
Okay.
last night. I was listening. I was actually working in bed. So this comes back to working hard.
Yeah.
Working in bed at like 2 a.m, and I was just listening to the Take Care album from like 8 years ago or something. It's just like the best background tunes ever. Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. And so, and what about favorite food? What do you love to eat?
Chinese food. Oh, just
Okay.
the absolute best. Duck pancakes, next level.
Love that. And lastly, tell us a little bit, just in these last couple of minutes, just tell us about, number one, how do we contact you? Because there are people out there right now that are listening. This will be on YouTube eventually, and so we want to know, how do we contact you, man? How do we get a hold of you? How can you work with us if we need you? And kind of, specifically give us or just like a summary of some of the products that you offer and some things that you could actually do for us, the audience.
Great. Well, the easiest way to contact me would be Instagram. That's the social platform I'm on the most, and I go back and forth on voice notes with people whenever they they message me. That's at Neil Shoney Mac, all one word. You can visit my website, which has all my free trainings on there as well, and links to all my podcasts. And that is just neilshoney.com, which looks like Neil's honey, by the way. And then, if you wanted some of those podcast episodes, it's called The Shoney Show. And we dive into all sorts from Facebook ads, lead generation, social media, email marketing, from A to Z, really.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And as far as products that you would be able to help us with, what's some of your specific things that maybe you could bring to the table?
So I've got two products. I've got the 16-week digital marketing program. It is the simplest way to get your ads up and running and successful within about 24 hours. You'll be going step by step, right from here's how you implement your pixel onto your website, right through to the publish button with your Facebook ads published. And then you get 365 days of support directly from me inside the group as well. So any issues or you're wanting to scale these ads, you can ask me questions. And that's actually the Q&A session that I'm about to go on to in a couple of minutes. I do that every week with them at 7 p.m. Sorry. I've also got the
other one.
I said two. I've also got the private coaching clients. I usually do this. I only take three of them on per month. But that's basically, you're going to get access to the full program, but we're also going to have one-to-one calls every single month and build out your strategy together. And then you're going to have access to my private Voxer so that we can go back and forth every single day in private.
Good stuff, man. Hey, well, thank you so much. I want the audience to remember to go out and follow Neil. What a stud, man. What a great story. Lots of valuable information today. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. And as always, make sure that you all dream much, much bigger. Get after it and do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.